Welcome, welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Bold and Bodacious Sister Series, Volume 2. I am thrilled and delighted to be with Dr. Carrie O. Graham of Learning. Her company is also her namesake, Carrie O. Graham Learning and Solution. Welcome to this conversation and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Gabrielle. I really appreciated it. I'm excited to see where our conversation goes.
Me too. And for context, one of the things that I do around the series is I've gotten really bold myself and bodacious in asking women to partake in the conversation. And I've gotten a lot of no's from people I know, actually, from friends I thought were shoo-ins that have
Wow.
said this just doesn't fit for me right now, or it brings up something they're not willing to talk about. So, for the viewers out there, if you've seen any other one of these, this volume, as I grow and learn, I'm working to really expand the conversation. So I'm excited to dig in, and my hope for this conversation is to shine a light on all of the genius behind Dr. Graham's personal soul and
Yeah.
her mission in life and where she comes from and what drives her and all of the good things. So we talked about the name of your business. Tell us a little bit about what inspired your work. If family of origin is relevant, like your folks inspired some of this, or you have siblings in the space. I love the signs behind you. I can and I will. I wore this because I felt like this represented who you are.
I love it. I love it. I really love it. And that's actually, it's funny that you wear it because that's where I would start my story actually is, growing up, I was such a shy child. I have a much younger sister. So I grew up an only child. And it I was just so quiet. I was so incredibly quiet and I, come from humble beginnings. And so when I went to college, I didn't have the guidance and direction in terms of what to do and how to do it. And I didn't have a mentor. And so that was my experience. And I chose to study sports medicine. So I was consistently the only Black face in a classroom. My entire bachelor's degree, my entire master's degree, and then later my entire PhD program. And so it
That,
has.
okay. Let's just pause for a moment, people, if I may,
Sure.
because here's where white people pay attention.
Yes.
How many years of school is that, people? Let's count 12 that I counted in post grammar and high, right? Middle school, right? So now we're in 24 years of schooling. In 12 of those, the only
The
person,
only.
okay. And okay, my head just exploded like 50 times. Let me just collect the brain matter. And what year, if you're okay sharing a little bit about timetable, give us like, is this the 90s? Is this the 80s?
Oh, yeah. I have no problems with my age. So I went to college in 91 and I'm originally from Connecticut, but I went to school in North Carolina and I went
Well,
to a predominantly white school. So it's, you know, I,
people. Sorry,
every,
I'm sorry. I just spit, just so y'all know I like full disclosure here because, and it really, and I can feel like the heat of sort of my outrage about it. I mean, I'm like, we're able to sit here and laugh because we have you and I have a soul connection in that, and it's a safe space to do that. And I
right.
would say that my laughter is covering my discomfort
Yes.
about how this is possible.
Oh, I can't hear you. I
Uh-oh.
can't hear. There we go. There we go. I
Okay.
got you.
I want to just pause because I think it's important for all of us to keep reminding ourselves of this is not anywhere near in the past. This is like present day, real things happening in the world that we have got to change. Whew. Okay. So please.
Well, Gabrielle, I just have this, I have to say, and like I chuckle out of like, yes, this is not my story, is not a unique story. There are consistently like, and that's why I was sort of like, let me just rush over that because in the Black community, oftentimes people are the only face.
Yes.
like and then the more formal education you receive, it is the norm.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be,
yeah.
but it is a consistent norm. And so, you take a very shy, introverted child, girl at that, and you put her in the Southeast, um, and having been a first generation college student, coupled with being in a field, because I ended up working in Division 1 athletics. And
Wow.
so,
Male
you know,
dominated. White male dominated, by the way.
yes, absolutely. So it's, you know, I was consistently struggling with this. How do I achieve what I want when I look at the others around me who have all this access and this privilege, but I don't have that, but I want the same goal. Yeah.
And I love that it didn't occur to you that you couldn't.
It wasn't that I couldn't, it was, what other option do I have?
Mm, wow,
Because I didn't
that's a true
my
calling.
Yeah, like I knew that this was what I wanted to do. I knew no one was going to hand it to me. And so I looked and for as much as my family supported me, they didn't know the industry. They didn't, have the education to support and facilitate. And so I consistently had to look within to figure it out.
How did you even have the fortitude to do that? If, you know, it, because what I hear is, right, there really weren't a lot of role models. Like, yes, we can look at historical figures, like who the hell in college is looking at, like, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, like, help me get through the day, Ruth, like in my,
Right.
or Rosa Parks or Maya Angelou or whoever inspires you, right? Like, there are so many women. I just am struck by that because I know I was this insecure, hot freaking mess of a girl in my 20s. So how did you feel like not go down other rabbit holes of
Yeah.
distraction?
Yeah, I was focused. I was focused. Full disclosure, and I you can't change the past, so I'll leave it at that. But I wasn't the strongest student academically, but I knew what I wanted and I knew I could be good at it if I had the opportunity. And so it was just this constant, turning inward, like, Carrie, figure it out. You can do this. And then, to have my family say, we believe in you and just do your best, like whatever that is, like just do your best, be good to other people, you know, just do your best, right? And so I always knew that I could, in all of my travels, I could always go home and that would be a safe space for me.
Mhm.
But rather, it's okay to take risks. And in my 20s, what I started to learn is that the more risks I took, it wasn't as scary as I thought it was. And the benefit far outweighed me not taking the risk.
Yes. Amen to
Hmm.
that. I talk
Yeah.
to
So
people about that
I've
all the
done, like, that's sort of where it comes from is, I'd like to say I had these amazing role models and people that I look to for inspiration, but that's just not my story.
And by the way, again, right, the life coach in me just can't help myself. What I'm seeing in you, Dr. Graham, is that when one turns inward for the answers and inward for the solutions and inward for the answers, we really become more reliant on ourselves, right? And it's really impressive to me because I know women generally, and I want to get into this conversation too, because of culture, society, diet culture, beauty industry, family of origin, right? Girls are not taught to go inward. We're taught to validate ourselves everywhere but inside our own heads and bodies.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
again, it's like, man, do you attribute some of that from your upbringing? Like, tell me a little bit about your folks. Are they, were they born in America? Like, tell me a little bit about, and how do you identify? Gosh, forgot one of the most important
Yeah.
questions.
Yes. So I grew up in a single parent household, and my mother is actually from Virginia. So my biological parents are from Virginia. I haven't had a relationship with my father, which, again, it's not, it is what it is, and there's no judgment directed toward anyone, and nor do I feel a sense of judgment. It's just a part of my experience. And so my mother had me when she was 18 and relocated to Connecticut, but she worked. Like, she worked in the corporate sector, and she just moved herself up, and she didn't talk about it. And I didn't realize that until really a couple of years ago, and I'm 48. And
Wow.
so to recognize that when my mother retired, she retired the same year I got my PhD. So we had a party together.
Wow.
And this goes to show we ended up having a party together, and I looked at her very last business card, and I had no clue what my mother's title was when she retired. And
Share,
I was blown away.
share it with the people.
I can't like, I don't know the insurance industry, but it
Right.
was like a executive director of something, something, something. I have no
Good.
idea. But
Senior
I had
executive
no,
level.
yes. Yeah, like I had no clue, my entire life. I knew my mother worked hard, and I knew she provided for me and my sister. Um, and I had a good life. We weren't wealthy, but we had a good life. And I just, that's the model I have in terms of working, is that, yeah, I don't need to talk about what I'm doing. It should speak for itself. And I'm working, I'm doing it, I'm doing it. And so that has always been the focus in growing up, is who are you as a person? How are you treating other people? Those are the things that matter.
Dang, that brings me right to the next place I want to go, which is about inspiration, right? So I like to double side this question because I like to ask, who inspires you? And it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be, it can be anybody I could or may not recognize. And then
Yes.
what drives you? I really believe that we do show up as ourselves in the world in service of others, right? And I really get that, especially given what kind of business you're running and the power behind what happens when women transform in your space is
Mhm.
like, you're up to some big things for some very powerful women in the world. So you'll leave a legacy, right?
I
So that
hope.
inspiration then, right? What inspires you to do what you're doing and pay that forward into the people that look to you for inspiration?
Sure. I had, again, going back to my earlier days, I had very high expectations and career goals. And I was so blessed that I met them early in my career. And I remember being at work one day and thinking, this is it. Like, I've done it. What else is there to do? And I was starting to get to the point where I wasn't happy. You're just
Yeah.
grinding so much. And so I I said, I'm done with goals. I'm done with striving. I'm just gonna live day to day. And that was really when I started to invite and seek having a relationship with God. So I am a Christian, and it was at that point that I really worked to surrender my path to a higher being, as opposed to me driving that path. And one of the things that you asked the question, who inspires me? And I do have two people that you might know. I would be impressed if you know the second, but I have the two
Oh,
people. I have the two people. So, like, those were sources of inspiration. But it has been a moving needle as I've evolved, right? Like as I've had experiences, as I've lived, where I draw my inspiration, it changes, and I embrace that. I embrace that I'm not a stagnant person.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
So come
Yeah.
on, you didn't
Oh,
reveal.
I'm sorry. So two people,
Okay.
the first, and these are two people that I had on my bucket list I want to meet in life.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So the first is John Thompson Sr. Now,
Like,
if you know college, yeah, if you know college
did
basketball,
this blank look on my face reveal immediately? I was like, who Thomas? Who Thomas? What?
okay. So he's an African, or was, rest his soul, African
No, rest-
American um basketball head coach for Georgetown. So the
My son
Georgetown
will
boy.
know who this is. I'm pointing
Yeah,
behind me because his room is behind that wall, everybody. And I
yeah,
just texted him to shoot that I was recording, by the way.
gotcha. Well, he would know. If anyone is a college basketball fan and they're a fan of Georgetown, that's who that was. He passed on last year.
Oh,
Um, but he I was inspired by him because it was the first basketball game I went to. It was against Georgetown and UConn, and to
oh.
see this and he was huge.
And you
To
were
see
from Connecticut. So,
from Connecticut, in Connecticut, and I was young. I think I was 12. To see this huge Black man walk out with such authority and confidence and have an entirely white arena boo him and his Black players, and they beat the home team. Yeah, like I was like, that's a guy I like. And so there were some political things that he stood for, as it relates to education, that I believed in as well. So that's him. And I can say on my 30th birthday, I met him, but that's a
oh,
story for another day.
okay. Part two.
Yeah, part two. And then the other person was Mother Teresa. And I saw her story, and it touched my core.
Yeah.
It touched my core of someone, a woman who just was everything that she was, but yet when people look at her, was everything that she wasn't. You
Oh,
know, it was
hold
just,
on. Let's just take that in. That was like prophetic. Say that again.
she was everything that she was supposed to be in who she was, but she was also everything that others didn't expect of her and who she wasn't. So the outside world, I believe, the outside world saw her for what she wasn't, but yet look at what she could do and did do with who she was.
So it is so actually not surprising because I believe the universe works this way. But I teach my daughter's eighth grade religious education class. She's being confirmed in in Catholic religion, although I am a little bit of a hypocritical Catholic, although a believer in God.
Yeah.
Um, and we've been talking a lot. So getting these eighth graders, right? So completely apathetic, rather be on Snapchat, 13 and 14-year-old boys and girls every Wednesday night for an hour with Mrs. G. Super fun. Um, but I really get so much out of it reading these, stories and parables. And one of the things that strikes me so much about Mother Teresa, and we were talking about this in class last night, was, when we all got, but Jesus gave his life so that we could understand what true love is, what
Right,
service to another is,
right,
what selfless devotion is, what it
right.
meant to him to help believers trust in God's, eternal salvation in heaven,
Mhm.
to be a guidepost for our morality and free will.
Yes.
Like that's the conundrum, right? That's the sharpest of edges, so I really, and I think this is true of any faith, just faith in other.
Hmm. Hmm.
Isn't that what God wants? Faith in other, faith in you, Faith in
Right.
our humanity, faith in our ability to connect better, create a better place than we found.
Yeah, yeah. And that's, years ago, I I realized one every day I had a very personal death
Mm,
when I was in college. It was unexpected. And it was at that time that I truly realized literally tomorrow is not promised. Like
yes.
it was the first time I really got it. And so at that time I just said, every day is a new opportunity. And when I started teaching, I made that my signature for years. And I would just tell people, yes, today was bad, or yes, I got today wrong.
Yes.
But Lord willing, if I wake up tomorrow, I have a new opportunity to get it right.
It's very Buddhist, right? And my way, how I say that to clients is, listen, you've already survived 100% of your very worst days.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Look at what you're capable of. And my really dear friend, Krista, always says, the feeling you're having in this moment is not the feeling you're going to have tomorrow,
Right.
or
Right.
maybe even in 3 hours or 4 hours, or,
Mhm.
and then we always drive people toward that, what feels like love, what would feel comfortable, or what would feel expressive. I'm really getting into that with my clients. Spent a lot of time, in coaching, and Dr. Graham, we spend a lot of time in our heads, right? And I think we have to remind ourselves, especially women, to sort of drop into the intuition that you seem to have known from a very young age. Like, what do I know I want? How am I going to get it? And it's sort of that simple. And you didn't waste very much time questioning
Yeah.
ability or the racism you might face, or like all of the things that you clearly had in your path didn't even occur to you. Like, that's so
Yeah.
badass, that
But
really.
the thing is I didn't realize. I just didn't see another way.
Can you see
Like I
now
didn't know that that was an opportunity to
the
sit
fail?
and wallow, right? Like,
Yeah, your mom probably wouldn't
yeah.
have up with that.
So I no, just Carrie, get over it, right? But here's one. I'll share this example with you. So because I was so quiet, I I knew that I wanted to move up in my career. And when you're an athletic trainer, one of the things that I believe you should do is always go to the visiting team, introduce yourself to the coaching staff, and introduce yourself to the other healthcare providers. And my mother, being in corporate, was always about firm handshakes, right? So I remember the first game that I was working, I was terrified. I was like, I know if I want to network, I have to walk across this field and I have got to go say hello to all these men. And I mean, like, I'm sweating, like, but I didn't have any other choice. There was no one to say, let me introduce you.
Right, right.
There was no one there. Yeah, like there was no one there looking out for me, pumping me up, like, oh, you can
Right,
do it,
you
you can
got
do it, right?
this,
Like
go
I
ahead,
had
right.
to drive. No, I had to find that strength on my own, and then I did it. And so like that's really the place where I come from is I don't know of other options. I know what I want, but I don't have someone saying, "Oh, this is how you do it," or "Let me do it for you."
Right.
And I bring that into my business, right? Like I know how to create a course regardless of what it is. But I believe the true power in working with someone is empowering them to do it themselves. And so, like, that's one of my values. And it's truly drawn from my own experience is I have a gift. I know the technical pieces of it, but I also understand the human spirit and what it means when you don't know how to do something and you're frustrated or you're afraid, but it's really what you want. I get so much joy out of helping that person get through the logistics,
Yeah.
but let's find something, let's find the process that's going to work for you.
Whew, that is so good. That is so good because it really is already like handing the keys over to someone to say, you already have everything it takes. I mean, it's really how I start coaching sessions, right? Like you've already got everything it takes. You may
Yeah.
not see your blind spots. You may need me to sort of nudge your nose toward the water, right? To use a biblical reference, right? Bring that horse to water. But we don't take the water we don't take the horse to water and then pick it up and stuff it under, right? Like,
Right.
you know, and I think that is so beautiful about how you've built your curriculum. So there's two things that are going to happen very spontaneously right now that I'm going to invite us to do because we're getting toward the end of time, and I want to continue this because we didn't even get to the best part. So here's what I think we could do.
Okay.
Why don't we do a live Instagram after we air this episode so people can join our conversation and I can tease it to them?
I love it. I
Okay.
love it. I love it.
So see what happens when you ask? I love this quote from our mutual gal pal, Rachel Rogers and crew. We have not because we ask not.
That's right.
Oh
That's
my
I
God.
firmly
And
believe.
this whole relationship between us for the audience was built on showing up and just asking and engaging and getting uncomfortable and showing up anyway. So
Yeah.
I think I
Yeah.
just made, I'm just going to go there and say friend for life, but you know, you can decide later if you
I'm
want
gonna
that
what
one.
I've been doing during COVID time, my virtual hug. Like, let me just give you
Oh,
my virtual hug.
oh, I love it. Oh, that felt so good.
Yeah.
So before we go though, I do want to do a little bit of a rapid fire, like fun thing that I like to do at the end of
Okay.
gigs. Um,
Okay.
and no pressure. Like if you can't think of anything, I've had people like, I'm like, move on. We'll just move on. So no pressure.
Okay.
So these are a list of favorites.
Okay.
Favorite color,
Blue.
song.
Anything gospel related, like old slave hymns. Love them.
Ooh, oh, beautiful. Will you send me some?
Yeah.
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 All right. Favorite word of the moment.
It's okay.
Ah, love that. Or saying, okay.
Say,
Book
yeah,
you're reading,
same.
book you're reading or favorite book?
I hate to sound cliche, but it really is the Bible at this point in my life. I'm really digging deep and I am finding strength as I build my business. So it really is.
Are you in Old Testament, New Testament? Where are you?
I go all over, but I find the most inspiration is really the New Testament. I am all about Galatians and Ephesians, and
Mm.
the first scripture that I really read that resonated with me was the full armor of God. And every now and again, I go back to it as a way to ground me and give me strength and, just get me through the hump.
Mm. Oh, I love that. So I want to leave on this note. I always feel called to sort of wrap on something. And I want to leave on this note of hump because of three things. One, an invitation to anybody watching today that if you're coming up the hill of a hump, if you're on the top of a hump, looking down, wondering if you should jump or slide on your tush, these two women right here are with you. We've been there. We are there. It's a daily process. Be good to you. Trust be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
The second,
Can I just say, Gabrielle,
yeah,
being in that valley, as some women may be, I just want to, I've been there and I just want to intentionally say, love yourself. Like whatever that storm is, love yourself and ask someone to help you. Just love you.
yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're not alone. And if
You're not.
nobody will help you, you can hit us up. We'll find
Yeah,
some people
absolutely.
or
Call
we'll
me.
do it, right?
Yep. Yep.
Thank
Yep.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you. So the second hump is we're going to invite you back to find us on Instagram, and I will post about it when we release this. It'll be posted.
Mhm.
And lastly, is there anything that you want these fine people to know about you that you haven't yet shared today?
I would say I love conversation and I love learning about people because I recognize that we are all more than what we have, what our titles are. We are more than our business. And so for women, looking for support, that's what my passion is. And I've searched my entire life praying for God to tell me what my talents are, how can I use them? And this is how. And I just want to be of service and give that to someone else. So just women, I'm here for you. I realized I'm a feminist.
Yes, come over to our side, right? Like I say, like, you got a vagina, you're a feminist. You just may not know it yet.
I agree with you because I realized like only a couple years ago I would have said a feminist, no way. Yes, I am. I
Yeah,
am.
amen. All right.
I,
I
yeah,
what? Say
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna
Say,
say I love to wear a bra, so I'm not about to burn my bra. But yes, I'm a feminist.
okay, I almost just flashed y'all because I'm not even wearing a real bra today. I'm wearing like these new little tankini situations. I'm really down with it. Okay, I mean, I love we're ending on the sauce too. So here's the final hump, our people. Come back and join us Instagram Live because here I'm going to tease it what we're going to talk about. So I provide all of my sisters with the questions ahead of time if they're curious so that they can decide if they want to talk about stuff or not. And this question was, while women in general share some of the same workplace prejudices, I can tell you that white women are well advantaged over our Black and brown counterparts. This is me speaking as the author of the sentence. What's one thing you can share that will help me and my white counterparts? I'm talking specifically to women, but because it's going to be us white women that help change the white men, I believe.
Yeah.
Help us step into your shoes. What is something we'd never have to deal with in our professions that you have? What's something that we white women could never fathom, blah, blah, blah. And Carrie writes back, this is a question that I have very strong opinions about and may be perceived as controversial. So I love me some controversy. And I think whenever I hear that word, I'm like, oh, white women, we got more to learn. So tune in. We'll post when it's going to be. And I'm going to say, I know exactly when we're going to do it. We're going to do it the first week of March, ahead of March Madness,
Yes.
to
Yes.
bring it all home.
I love it. I love it. Yes.
Okay. All right. So we'll get back to you on that. Dr. Carrie O. Graham, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. You are the most bold and bodacious sister I can imagine. And I really appreciate you so deeply.
Thank you so much for the space and the time. And most importantly, thank you for our new friendship. Thank you.
Me too. Okay. I'm going to be in touch with you later. Okay.
Okay.
Bye, everybody. Peace.